Hey folks, Quill18 here, and welcome to another Let's Play SimCity. We're going back in Texas City, and we're going to talk about update number 7. Patch number 7 just came out for SimCity and introduced a few interesting changes. Some minor, but cool, and some very, very, very major. In fact, this is probably the single most significant patch that has come out for SimCity, I dare say. Now, this is Texas City. I did let it run offline for a little while, so that's why we've got a bit of a bigger population and very little money left over. And I have to be honest, I kind of feel like Texas City might be done. We're going to twiddle around with a couple little things here or there, but, I mean, we had relatively humble goals with this, in that we just wanted a very pretty, high-wealth city. And it's kind of there. The population density is only going to get so big, and the interesting problems, the interesting puzzles to deal with in SimCity tend to rely on extremely dense population. When you hit those cities that are 100,000 or 200,000 people, that's when you get the interesting and difficult to solve traffic problems, which is why I'm thinking, I don't know, we might go and look at something else pretty soon. But let's go back and talk about patch number 7. One of the biggest both cosmetic and significant in terms of gameplay changes is the fact that we can now raise and lower roads. And what are the implications of that? Well, there's cosmetic differences. If I start drawing out a road over here, and then I use the M key, that will raise the road up, and I can create a bridge or an overpass. Or I can hit the N key and drop it down up to the point it creates a tunnel, which is really cool, because the tunnel will go under things. That's a bad example of where we can do something, but, yeah, there we go. See, it's definitely going below buildings at this point. So our little town hall here will not be affected. And then if I raise it up with the M key, the same thing will happen. If I get it up high enough, it will pop into an overpass. And, oh, actually, the overpass doesn't go over buildings. It will go over roads. That is fine. If I had a place where I could, let me cancel out of that and build it through here, because these are all bulldozable buildings. And if I go and raise it up with the M key, so this will still demolish some buildings, it will go right through them, but it won't create an intersection in this spot right here. The road's going to go over, which means you can connect to distant parts of the city without creating a bunch of intersections. It still takes up space, but that's okay. And then again, the other way, if we go down and dig a tunnel, then in fact it won't even bulldoze all of the buildings, only where it needs to go up to the surface for to connect to the current roads. And it does always have to start and end on the surface, so that's okay. And I think, actually, I didn't actually check this. I'm assuming we could do this with the avenues as well. Yeah, so what I can do is I can go from one side of the city to another using a tunnel. There's a couple of places, or is it not deep enough? Oh, it's because the road elevation, I think, is throwing things off here. Right, but there we go. So I can connect the entrance of the city to the far back side of my city with one single straight road, but not create any intersections and not use up any space in the middle. And that's going to go a long way towards alleviating a lot of traffic woes. Plus, I think the overpasses just look really awesome, so I'm excited to give them a try. The other major change that's happened in the game has to do with how the agents work. So, you know, I've explained before that, you know, as a programmer, I can understand there are difficulties and concerns with pathfinding of many agents in a game. And there are, right? There's tons and tons of vehicles in here, especially when you get to the larger cities. And it's not just vehicles. You've got all the water, right? If we go, or power, water, sewage. These are all agents that have to pathfind their way around the city. And there's a real performance impact to doing pathfinding, especially in relatively complex things. If you're trying to keep account of traffic, and if some of these agents can sort of bump into each other and therefore slow each other down, and how to deal with intersection, turning, and all that, you know, it takes a certain amount of CPU power to do that, which is why the agents have to be relatively dumb. There's a limit to how smart you can make them, because if you add more and more processing power to each agent, eventually the computer simply won't be able to take to handle all that, right? But one of the weak points that was always present in this game is, let's say there's a fire somewhere. You know, if there was a fire, where's my fire station? Right over here. And there's a fire in this building here. What will happen is the fire trucks that are all running around will see, oh, there's a fire here, and they will all run over to this spot. And then when the first one gets there and starts handling the fire, then when the others come up behind, they reach here and they go, oh, this fire's already handled. I guess I got nothing to do, and they will try to drive off, assuming they're not just stuck in a bottleneck. That's very obvious with the garbage trucks. The buses were a big thing. you know, if we look around the map here, there, you see they're not really forming conga lines anymore. There's a little bit of clumping here, although actually that's not clumping. This is just buses going back to the terminal to drop off their people. So that's kind of inevitable. And frankly, in real life, there's always a certain amount of clumping with buses as well. But you know, they're not. Yeah, they're doing pretty good. They're not in one giant conga line. The buses, the garbage trucks, there were huge problems. Fire trucks, police cars to a lesser extent, but still definitely there. And more invisibly, the problem was with workers from homes or workers going back to their home, for example. So in the morning at, I don't know, 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, everyone would leave their house and they would all go to the closest business. And they would reach the business, and the first certain number of cars would be able to enter the business and work, and then the business would be full of people, and then all the other cars that would show up would just be told, no, I'm full, do a pathfinding recalculation at this point. They don't recalculate their path constantly, because that would be horribly inefficient and would just bring your computer down to its knees. But it meant that you ended up with a situation where a bunch of cars would go here, then a bunch of cars would go here, and then here, and then here, and then here, and eventually they would trickle out, or they would simply time out, because at that point it's, you know, afternoon, and well, I'm not going to work at this point, it's stupid. So now what happens is, when the agents spawn from somewhere, they pick their destination, and then they actually tell the destination right away, I am coming to you. They will reserve a spot in their destination. And so then when future vehicles spawn, if it's, for example, a fire or a bus stop or something, the buses will look at this destination and say, oh, it's already reserved. I'm not even going to think about going there. I'm going to look at the next closest. Is that one reserved? Yes, it is. Okay, I will look at the next closest spot. That one has a free spot. Excellent. I will go there and reserve a location. So it should mean that for fires and bus stops, there will only be one vehicle going to any given one at any given time. And for places of employment, the number of passenger vehicles that go to any single place of employment should be limited to the number of spots that are actually present. So that will make a huge, huge freaking difference. And it does strike me as a little odd that that was not part of the core pathfinding behavior from the beginning. Is one of the first complaints that I brought up about the game. It seemed like, well, why didn't they just do this? And, I mean, it's not always easy to make a change to a product that's already there, but it seems to me that that would have been something to identify early on. Certainly, when I have used pathfinding in some of my games, and I have agents that sort of roam around to destinations, one of the first things I generally do is have the agents kind of reserve a slot somewhere so that there's not any kind of clumpiness. And then you just have to make sure that if the agents disappear for any reason, if they time out, if you bulldoze a section of road where they're at and it kills them, it actually looks like some of these agents are hovering above the road at certain zoom points. Like, it's fine when I'm zoomed in, but when I go out, man, maybe it's, you know, a shadow issue or a perspective thing, but yeah, I think the shadows are off slightly on my computer. They're offset ever so slightly from the cars, so it looks like they're hovering. Oh, that's really weird. I wonder if just I have to restart the game, or if it's my graphic card or something. I know they did put in another fix. This is a minor cosmetic change to the game, where it used to be at a certain zoom levels, and I would notice this especially if it were hilly and I zoomed out a lot. Sometimes the ground would poke through the roads. And there's, as you know, someone who's done computer grain programming, there's lots of reasons why that sort of thing might happen. And it looks like they sorted that out, because I'm no longer seeing those sort of weird graphic artifacts. And I don't know if it affected everyone. It may have had to do with certain video cards and so on. But I certainly noticed it from time to time. If you go back to my older videos, you'll see it at some point as well. And I'm wondering if that fix also broke these shadows on my computer. It's just a very minor thing. I'm not, you know, I don't care about the visuals that much. To me, it's all about the gameplay mechanics. So there's that. The other thing we've got, and this is a visual-ish kind of thing, is our tree tools, and I think it's all the way on the right. Yes, it is. In your parks and your nature parks, where you can plop down forests, well, you can now plop down individual trees along the roads. And they've got the rustling tree, the shade tree, and the swaying tree. So let's go and give them a try. And I think they look absolutely, absolutely lovely. And I also think they're going to be very appropriate for this city here. So you can see you do plop them on the road, but they don't actually bulldoze any buildings from what I can tell. So if we put this down here, there we go. It plants it right between the sidewalk and the road, which actually, I do see cities there. And is it really, oh, it takes up that much space between? Oh, it's less distance on these roads, I think, than on the avenues. Maybe it's about the same. Curious, actually. So these are quite a bit bigger, so the rustling ones are not so big. They absorb a small amount of air pollution until they die out. It will suck to try to go and replant these trees later if anything happens. And then the swaying trees, which... Oh, wait, you put different kinds of trees very close together? I actually really don't know what the logic is in terms of the spacing. 1, 2... Yeah, as long as they're different types of trees, then you can put them close together. They're a little blurry to me. I don't know, maybe I've got to double check my graphic settings. Maybe there's something wonky with my settings. Maybe they're just not meant to be looked at up close. From far, they're nice. And I love these tree-lined roads. I think they look really nice. I would not mismatch the trees like this. I think they should all, you know, in any given section, they should all be the same. I think one of the things, let me use these big poofy ones because they're quite nice. You know, this might be a good place to put them. Can I hold shift or control? No, there's no way to bulk place them. Well, that's a bit of a shame. But there we go. That's actually really, really nice. I would like to do like downtown boulevards like that. I think about Las Brussels, that one avenue that leads into the middle of town. Just line it with trees, which I sort of did before because I was using the these guys, the tall tree rows, to sort of line the avenues. Kind of awkwardly because you can't actually put it adjacent to the avenue itself, but I could put it like this and then double up. And I thought, you know, I always thought that was pretty nice. So, so I like the trees. So what else we've got? New changes. Tree tools. Vehicles now accelerate and decelerate faster, allowing them to leave buildings and cross intersections more efficiently. So, you know, I don't know. That's a way to sort of get around with some of the traffic issues by just reducing the slowdowns. But you know what? They still stop. They still pause a little bit at the roads, and that's what I care to see. The acceleration... Let's watch this one. See how quickly he starts up when he starts moving. Yeah, they go to their max speed almost right away. Although not quite. There's still definitely a delay as they make some little changes here and there. You know what? I think it looks fine. It probably is a microscopically small change that maybe slightly helps traffic, but it still looks fine. It doesn't, you know, you want it to be slightly realistic. Sports parks are now accepting Sims 24 hours a day, which I believe those have to do with the events where they can only go to the event centers at certain times. And you get, again, a lot more clumpiness. So that's a bit of a hack, perhaps, to eliminate some of the traffic clumping issues, but it's not one that bothers me. I mean, everything in this game is an abstraction, right? A simulation. A day is like a month, an hour is like a day, so why the hell not? Airship. The number of airship passenger trips should now be correct over multiple days. Not a big change. Freight trucks now only leave factories if they have a valid delivery destination, which makes me wonder before, where were they going? Because as far as I thought, the agents didn't really do anything if they didn't have a destination. They literally just drive around randomly. That seems quite odd. And I mean, very, very bizarre with the freight trucks. I really don't understand what was going on there. Fix for freight trucks leaving the city instead of going back to the factories in some situations. Oh, well, maybe that's what they were doing. If they had nowhere to go, maybe they just left the city and then never came back. So I guess that's a pretty big improvement. And then terrain. Improves some instances where terrain covers sections of roads under certain scenarios when the camera is zoomed out. And yeah, I definitely had noticed that before. So good patch. Mostly it's the traffic changes. Mostly it's about the roads with the ability to change elevation is very, very cool. And which, you know, some of these things are sometimes more complicated than others to implement, and I can't yell at them for not having that. You know, you can't yell at someone for not having every single feature in the sun at release date all the time for every game. But the new traffic fix where hopefully things won't clump up as much because they're going to be smart about where they go, to me that's probably something that should have been in the game in the first place. Still, we have managed to make some beautiful cities, and again, I'm not entirely sure what we're going to do to move forward over here in Texas cities, especially because it won't have much of a traffic problem already because it doesn't have a very high population. It's never going to. There are a couple of tweaks I can see, though. For example, here we've got Billy's Biofuels, which does not have enough room to increase density. And over here on the right-hand side, we've got Brewed Beans, which also doesn't have enough room to increase density. And it's because it's kind of tucked in between some other buildings, which have a lot of space between them. And I'm tempted to see if I were to maybe bulldoze some of these buildings to see what might pop up in these places. What's the zoning like over here? I almost need to like de-zone a tiny little bit. And did I just hit a button? I just hit V for record. Is it V? Yeah, get rid of that. I'm already recording. I don't need the in-game recording. There we go. That's what I want to see, is these big buildings come up. just by sort of massaging the building placement just a little. So let's go ahead and do a little bit more of that. I want to encourage people to clump up this way. And we'll see if that happens. And keep bulldozing these guys. And over here. So I think these are the right block sizes now. There we go. See, they're perfectly adjacent to one another, and I want as much tight spacing as possible where I can get it. Close for the day. This place probably won't grow, but there's not really any more room to stick anything else in there. This one might not. I'm not sure if it's going to have room to sandwich in there. We'll see how it goes. We may have to re-bulldoze. And again, I'm just re-bulldozing blindly. I think I could force the issue a little bit more if I was de-zoning a little bit of a gap between things and managing things like that. Workers needed. Well, we are actually importing a lot, and that's the thing. That was the other criteria for the success of our town. Are we going to be able to service the arcology? And so far, I mean, we're bringing in, look how many visitors we have compared to our actual living population. We are commuting in tons of people, and mostly filling every single slot in the job. So no more available jobs for the low and middle wealth workers, slightly more room for the high wealth, which is actually surprising because most of our city's population is high wealth. But and that's the thing, actually they may have been jobs that were supposed to be filled by people in town, but maybe they just weren't able to make it to their destination because of traffic or other kind of weirdness. So overall, I think Texas City is I'm going to say it, I'm making a note here, it's a huge success. And I think it looks really, really lovely. And oh, what do you got here? No shoppers. So yeah, there's still a little bit. And speaking of things being a huge success and failure, looks like we just got a disaster. A meteor strike. Striking way over here. Alright, what's going to happen? Hopefully our fire trucks are decent. This is going to be the real test of our new traffic system here to make sure that things don't clump up too much. Oh my god! Huge explosions, huge fire, and fire, oh god, it's spreading all over the place. Martin household, hey, that's me. Ramirez, Wallace, oh god, Metropolitan West. Okay, fire trucks. You know what we probably should do is add in a few more fire trucks, because right now we don't have that many, because we really didn't need that many. Right? There's only so many buildings that can catch fire. And at this point, though, we've got a lot of them going on simultaneously, so hopefully we can get everything put out. But it does look like the fire trucks, yeah, going to one place at a time, not clumping up. They go somewhere and they finish. We had the helicopter go and help out quite a bit, and it looks like all our fires have been extinguished. That fast? That was incredible. And then some were just destroyed outright by the disaster. Some get a little bit abandoned by the fire. That's not bad. Yeah. Most of the buildings flattened. Too many injuries. Really? Where's my hospital? Lots of room, and we do have some ambulances attached, so alright. I mean, some of those things are bad luck. Some of those things may have been present beforehand, I'm not sure. What do you want? No, I do not want Maxis Man. Thank you very much. I had some other pop-ups kicking around, though. Let's go and see what they want. Amusement park, yeah. Touristy stuff, meh. Oh, we should put down the houses of worship. I don't know where they are. Let's go hunt around. So they did release they call it a free DLC, which, I mean, I guess is a good way to market it to people, where they added houses of worship to the game. And that was actually one of the things I complained about early on in the game, in that I didn't like the fact that they didn't have any churches whatsoever. I mean, I'm not religious or anything, but to me, if you're going to be building a town, you should probably have, do that. You should, I mean, churches are a reality, right? Make it like the Church of the Sacred Llama or whatever, I don't care. Actually, I know for a fact I've got it. It even told me, hey, thank you for buying the DLC, but I didn't buy it. Oh, there we go. Houses of Worship. So, we've got House of Worship Church. Scenic church is shrouded in a quiet calm. Sims seeking answers will flock here and leave with a beatific glow? I don't know how to say that word in English. Just be careful, don't bulldoze a church. Oh. Alright, yeah. House of Worship, Mosque. Okay, impressive looking edifice adds character to any neighborhood. Sims looking for higher power will visit this place and leave feeling at peace. Don't tempt fate by bulldozing a mosque. So these are boring names. I thought they would have interesting sort of text to them. I like the modern temple here with the plumb bob. I wasn't a huge fan of the plumb bob park. I think it's a little gaudy, but I like this one actually. Yeah. And then we've got a temple as well. Oh, I didn't read the text for the last one. Free from the trappings of a traditional temple, this temple has realigned its auras toward the future. Sims seeking guidance will visit this place and leave with an inner peace. It would be unwise to bulldoze a modern temple. So yeah, I think people will get really pissed off if you take down their house of worship. This ornate temple has a sense of history about it. Devout Sims will come here for a new perspective and return home feeling justified. Don't bulldoze the temple if you want to stay in good graces. So yeah, they all host 200 people. They have 2 services per day. I think they're all exactly the same. Yeah. Same times and everything. It's free to put down and free to maintain. However, you also don't get any taxes from it, but it should make Sims a little bit happier. So I think that this is what we've been saving this central area for, is we will put down all 4 churches and give people somewhere to worship. And say, where's my little happiness pop-ups? There we go. Now, they do have to go to the center of town for it, but it doesn't look like they have a range. This is not like a park. I mean, the range of the park is mostly about land value change. People can technically come from any part of the city to go and enjoy a park, if that's what they're looking for. If they have no money and they seek happiness, they will go to a park no matter how far, I believe. Most parks actually don't have parking spaces, so I guess for a lot of them they will only go as far as they walk, but some do have parking lots, so I think for those they will go a little bit further. We might get rid of one of these amphitheaters and replace it with a different kind of building at some point. I suppose actually the Plum Bob Park might actually fit in very nicely here, so let's go ahead and put that in. I think that's informal. Oh no. Plaza then. There he goes. The Plum Bob Plaza. There. I think that actually looks kind of okay, and we can keep going through row of trees. Actually, let's do that. Nature. And I was using the big puffy ones. The roadside shade tree. Let's go ahead and put those all on the outside. It's going to give it a really nice sense of symmetry. Whoops. That's okay. Oh, no, it's not. It's going to drive me crazy. It already drives me crazy that it doesn't line up perfectly well over here. Can I not bulldoze the tree? Oh, no, you're kidding me. Oh, alright, so I really apologize for everyone who's like, OC. Oh, God. Oh, that uneven placement. It's killing me. Oh. It's a good thing there's churches here. I've got to go and do penance. Oh, such a sin. I can't believe. I'm tempted to go and literally bulldoze the avenue to get rid of the tree. Or, I don't know, just bring in a whole bunch of pollution to kill the trees. Is there music coming out of these? Oh, that's quite neat. You guys probably can't really hear it on YouTube. I have to keep the volume in SimCity very low for the music because otherwise I get flagged on YouTube. There we go. I really wish I could bulk drop down these trees. Because, well, what would happen is every single street in my game would be lined with trees because trees are pretty and cool. I don't know about doing the inner ring. I think I'm going to leave it like this. I'm quite happy with that. And so are people going? What time is it? It's the wrong time, so let's go and we'll watch what happens when they go at night. There's no visitors there yet. I mean, we don't have a huge population. I don't know if people will come from outside the city to go to those places. But it's nice that it exists. Probably have to say no to Dr. Vu again. Yeah. No, thank you. But yeah, so, I mean, things are going fine. Oh, I think we got another upgrade because we're about 15,000. What is this? Oh, is it just telling me there's an upgrade to do? I don't think I'd ever noticed that symbol before, actually. It's quite neat. Water situation. Whoa! Why do we have no water? That's not good. Do we just import our water? I think we do. We're gonna have to go and play one of the other cities and get some more water supply in here because the problem is all this stuff over here is maximum pollutiness. Well, no, actually, this is all high-tech industry, so luckily the water is relatively clean. I'm tempted to just put down some water towers, though. Although I'm going to need a ton of them. Not as many as I thought. Here, we can put down a few more up here. Less of a water table over here, but it should still be acceptable. Oh, I did build those a house. Oh well. So I'm just going to do this for now. But we'll have to build more water supply in some of the other towns at some point. But yeah, but as I keep saying, I'm pretty sure we're done with Texas City. And therefore probably done with this region. I mean, we did go and build the arcology, which I feel fantastic about. It's whining about power again, but it's still supplying some people. It's just not supplying quite as many as it could. I guess I do technically have room at the end over here for another condenser or two. I suppose we may as well do that. Keep shipping things out the other ecology, but that's it. That's as much power as I'm willing to put out over here. So I think that's as far as we're going to grow, other than just letting it sit longer and watching buildings pop up. I mean, we're never going to make money in this city. It's always going to be a huge problem. The thing is, we don't have the tax base, and unless I go and put down a bunch of casinos and touristy things, you know, that can be fine. Frankly, it might be an excellent city to put in some touristy stuff. But I think I want to leave it like this. I think I'm happy with the look of it. The goal of this city was not to make something that was profitable. It was to make something that looked kind of nice and was good for high wealth sims. And that's what we have. I like it. I hope you guys like it. I think it's nifty. Well, let's do another quick little tour of the region just to see what we have and where, and then we'll probably say goodbye. Goodbye to Threegion. Yes, my third region was called Threegion. At least I think it was my third real region for videos. There may have been one or two others in there because at the start especially there were a lot of server changes as, you know, we were dealing with server instability. So let's go take a look at Orlando, which is really our amusement park town. In hindsight, I wish I'd saved this name for our industry city. On the other hand, oh, that's right, Orlando, because it had Or, and it also had the amusement park, so it was like Disney World. That's right. Okay, I guess it's a perfectly good name then. There's actually still a lot of empty space in the city. Certainly a lot of things we could do with it. But, I don't know. I really like this Edificio Capan over here, which I'm sure I'm not saying correctly. I love the look of it, and I think, I don't know. So everything's a little sparse. I think it could be improved with trees. I think that's really what's making me right now think, oh, it's not quite as nice as it could be. When in doubt, just fill all these empty places with trees, and things look just so much lovelier. You know, just jam a bunch of things in there. Although, see, some of the terrain, you can't. And I think it's because they've got some of the spaces reserved for buildings, especially on the shores. That's right, I remember this from before. Very frustrating. We could help things with a bit of tree-lined avenues, of course, but other than that, I don't know. So the money comes and goes a little bit in this town, but I think, especially once the traffic sort of equalizes from the patch in here, we're going to be in pretty good shape. Yeah, so industry over here. Lots of industry. Kind of these weird, funky roads. I remember building all those, and I'm still not terribly happy with this, and this here. Oh, we still have a place. Look at that place right there. The ground overlaps the road still, despite the patch change. It's a little hard to see at night, but it's definitely happening. Just at the furthest zoom level. But again, there's very uneven terrain here. Oh, there too, it gets kind of clipped. I think the reason for this is when you zoom out, there is a level of quality that happens with some of these models, because again, there's a lot of models to show, right? There's plenty in the background over here and here and here, and I mean 3D models, right? 3D meshes with a certain number of little details, like the little bits that pop up out of the buildings over here, and so on. There's a lot of little detail to some of these buildings. Well, when you're far away, you actually can't really see most of these details, including on the roads. Here, there's a lot of meshes and triangles used to display these sorts of things. So when they zoom out, what they do is they simplify the model. And they pop, you can see it right there. What they're doing is they're getting rid of some of the extra geometry in the 3D mesh, just to make it so you have to render less triangles out to the video card. But by doing that, sometimes you end up losing a little bit of sort of bump that's supposed to follow the terrain, and the underlying terrain ends up cutting through it. So I think what they did is they made, I don't know, they made it a little bit less, I don't know, level of quality-ish or something. I'm not sure what they actually did to make that reduce being a problem. There's other things to do with depth buffers and things which are way too technical to get into, but you know, again, I understand where this sort of stuff is coming from. It's a little bit wonky, but as long as it doesn't affect my gameplay, I couldn't be bothered. Alright, so that's Orlando. So let's continue the tour of the region, the arcology, and let's go take a look at Havelock, which complains about needing water. In fact, like almost all my places complain about needing water despite the fact that they don't. I think it has to do with how the importing works. If you have one city that generates positive water and can sell it to other cities, I think, like, let's say you have a surplus of 100 gallons per hour in one city. I'm pretty sure every other city in your region can import 100 gallons because it doesn't one city doesn't steal it away from the entire region, because every city sort of exists kind of on its own. I still really like this city. The road system is a bizarre jumble. I mean, if you were to live in the city, giving someone directions would be crazy, because nothing goes north, south, east, west. Everything is curves, everything is angles. In fact, I believe that was the thing with the city, is I'm literally put down every single street with a curve tool. I think the only reason this particular spot here is straight is because that section of road came with the city, this whole loop here. In hindsight, maybe I should have bulldozed it and put in something much more interesting. Now, this was a city that did have some traffic problems at a point, and I suspect that it probably still would have some traffic problems, because it basically has one central avenue that a lot of stuff is going to go through. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of stuff is going to want to branch off over here, because the majority of my city is kind of off this way, you know? Like in this general portion. So there's a lot of people coming in here that might turn left, and a lot of people coming here that might turn right, which would alleviate some of the traffic on this main thoroughfare, except for the people literally just passing through my city. And I don't know how much that happens, because again, the whole region is not really being simulated right now. God, it does look nice at night. You know, just a little bit of haze in the distance from all the pollution in my region, the boat, the reflection in the water. Really is a lovely game. I like these motels here with the bright orange signs, the neon signs that glow with the haze. I like this game at night a lot. I think when I'm placing things, I prefer the daytime, but when I'm just looking, can't beat this. We are making a good amount of money here. We do have the water shortage though, so I guess maybe there is a regional thing that I'm not quite aware of. Oh, it actually has things turned off for some reason over here, so that might be part of the reason. Oh, this is Texas City, San Polucion. That's why. They're just newer cities. All right, so we finished them. Let's go and take a look at Havsnotburg. And this does have a higher population. I think it may have had some traffic-y issues in the past. I'm trying to remember. I mean, nothing compares to Los Brussels. I should really dig up that city and just see what happened with the traffic update. I just have to remember what server it was on, because I keep moving from one to another. I will have to see, and in fact, also see if there happens to be an open region over there. I'm not sure that there is, because I really want to try to see if I can build a mega high-density city. Highest population possible, which I think will rely on a lot of low-wealth residential districts, so it's actually going to be a pretty crappy town overall. Oh, this is just a really boring city because it was built completely on a grid. And grids are relatively efficient, except, again, I had a bit of a too high of a density of roads. I could really get rid of some of these and fit in a few more buildings here and there, not to mention cutting down the number of intersections. And, oh no, the population here is only 62,000 as well. Interesting. Although, oh, you can see the traffic start to flow into the city already. And yeah, all these close intersections. So terrible. Such terrible road placement. But this was just meant to feed Havelock, right? A lot of these cities were designed just as a very basic city to produce a few things for the other cities. And we weren't particularly interested in making each individual city great. So this region really suffered for that. On the other hand, it was interesting. Actually, and that's the reason I put this expo center here. As I recall, I was putting it here to test some of the new traffic systems in some of the earlier patches. Because this is a bad idea, because whenever you schedule those events, it generates a ridiculous amount of traffic as people flow in. Although maybe the fact that it's open 24 hours will help. And the new traffic reservation system will not reduce the amount of traffic that's going to the rock concert here. But it will cut down on other traffic that might happen to be going around. Let's see, the buses, these are a little clumpy. And by a little, I mean a lot. But actually, no, these were not going to bus stops. They they're flowing outside of the city. They just happen to be taking the same route to go outside of the city, those two. So those are not really conga lines. Now here's some buses coming into the city. It'll be interesting to see what they do once they get past these intersections. Yeah, they've split up right away. Oh, this has me very excited. Yeah, it's definitely working a lot better than it was. So there's a couple in a row, but they're not sticking together. One stopped here, and the other one was just driving somewhere else. And they're mostly spread out. We'll see. All right, so not much to look at here. I think if we let this city run by itself, I'm pretty sure the population would rise, especially if it didn't have much in the way of traffic problems. But I'm not as interested. Whenever I play the game, any game, I'm always interested in beginnings. It's my favorite part of any game. When you look at that blank slate and you're like, what can I do with all of this territory? I can do pretty much anything that I want. And I love that, because at that point the game is full of possibilities. And then once your city is built and things are full, that's usually when I get bored, because I'm like, oh, I need something new right away. And some people don't like that. They want to run one thing for a really long time and really give it some love and nurture it. But once those first few strokes are down on the canvas, I'm looking for that next blank slate, which is bad because it means I never finish any games. And it happens no matter what I'm playing. Civilization, I like the first 100 years more than every other turn in the game. Just because, yeah, you've figured out the continent at that point. This city was terrible. It's probably my worst city. But again, with this one, I thought, I can't believe it. How does this have more population than Have Notburg, which has actually a lot of residential put in here? I honestly don't know how some of this gets worked out. We have a lot of genuine locals here. I guess they're just high density residential here, I guess. And that's it. When I put this down, I figured we'd get like 1,000 people in the city. And that's why I didn't think there would be any traffic problems whatsoever. And I don't know that any patch is going to fix the traffic problems in the city. It's just a terrible, terrible layout. And God, look at the ground. We just have to burn this entire city to the ground and leave it to rot and wait for 1,000 years for nature to come back. And then maybe it's going to be worth trying to colonize again. Because as it is, it's just a throwaway. But it made us a lot of money, and it built us in our ecology, so I guess it got the job done there. Anyway, that brings us to the end of this video, and I think we might be starting a new region next time. See you then, folks. Bye-bye.